What is good, YouTube? It's your boy, OG Nonboy, back with another video, and in today's video, in the spirit of Halloween, I'm going to be playing in the Ultra League Halloween Cup, which I know with a lot of people isn't very popular, and a lot of people don't really like this cup for, a variety of very valid reasons, but I'm going to be bringing a pretty classic Great League team into the Ultra League Halloween Cup, and that team consists of NIDOQUEEN, which is ranked number 1 on the PvPoke rankings, and Obstagoon, and the Umbreon. So NIDOQUEEN Double Dark, pretty common line. So let's see how it performs in the Halloween Cup meta here. So first match, we have NIDOQUEEN into Galvantula, and the NIDOQUEEN hard walls the Galvantula since the Galvantula can only throw resisted moves at it. And they bring in a Alolan Ninetales. So this is a Powder Snow Alolan Ninetales, which means they're going to be reaching the Powder Snows at the same time as we're going to reach these Poison Fangs. So I'm going to invest 1 shield, and then they actually CMP us on this second Weather Ball here, and that's pretty bad since we do want to preserve the health on this NIDOQUEEN since our back 2 Pokemon are very weak to the Galvantula, and that means that we have to go down 2 shields basically. I probably should have brought in my Obstagoon against the the Alolan Ninetales there, since it's not gonna, it doesn't know Charm, right? So it would have to build all the way up into a Dazzling Gleam to threaten our Obstagoon, and if we chipped it first with the Poison Fang and then dipped out, then it would have been very manageable of a matchup and we wouldn't have had to go down 2 shields. But now we're in a bit of a sticky situation. The Galvantula here is going to be able to get super effective lunges off on our Umbreon, but we're still in an okay position since they did shield once, and this is going to put them pretty low if they don't shield it, and our Obstagoon does have a decent time against the Drapion there, so not too bad of a position still, and we're able to catch a crunch on our Obstagoon, which is very good for us since it is resisted, and we did get the defense drop, but it should be okay still. So we're gonna go for cross chops, and as you can see here, I kind of had the wrong moveset for this first battle here. I had the Gunk Shot and the cross chop instead of Night Slash and cross chop, because normally I do run the Gunk Shot in the Open Great League, or not Great League, the Open Ultra League, just to surprise the fairy types, but in this cup, I do think Cross Chop is a lot better. So they're going to take us out before we're able to get this last Cross Chop off, and they do throw another move at our NIDOQUEEN here. So things aren't looking that great, but I know that we can survive 1 move here since everything's resisted, and NIDOQUEEN is a very tanky Pokemon. So we're able to farm them down, and we do have an Earth Power ready for the Drapion, so we end up winning that match there. GG's to the opponent. Next match, we have Drapion into NIDOQUEEN, and NIDOQUEEN does okay against Drapion, except for you do have to bait and land the Earth Powers correctly. So they're going to get a crunch off, and we do get the debuff, which is always unfortunate, and they also make a really nice catch onto their Umbreon, or not Umbreon, the Sky Umbreon, the Flying Umbreon, the Mandibuzz. So we're gonna throw a Poison Fang here, and then most likely bring our Umbreon in here. So this is kind of where the Last Resort does come in handy. Both these Pokemon are very tanky, but with a debuff and throwing these neutral Last Resorts at the Mandibuzz, we should be able to take this thing out. But our switch timers are quite misaligned since I did throw 2 charge moves at the Mandibuzz before swapping out, so they're probably going to look to get out of this matchup at some point, since they will lose if they stay in. And they do end up bringing in their Drapion, so we're going to keep throwing these Last Resorts to chip this thing. And I'm probably going to look to get out of here myself once my switch timer is up into my Obstagoon, since Obstagoon does have a pretty solid matchup against the Drapion here. So that's exactly what I do. This time I do have the right moveset, and we're just going to play this out. A lot of these matchups take a really long time in the Ultra League, especially with so many XL Pokemon. So these battles that I have here, usually I end up showing a set that I play, but I had to kind of curate these battles across multiple sets since a lot of the battles ended up being pretty boring with really long matchups in between. So I kind of make a mistake here by throwing on CMP. I should have just farmed all the way down. But I'm going to lose that energy to the Drapion there. And as you can see here, it would have been pretty nice to have 2 cross shops ready against the Mandibuzz. But they're going to be able to farm us all the way down. I'm going to bring the NIDOQUEEN in here to farm them down. I'm really being stingy with my shield here for kind of no reason, since, I mean, it is the end of the match, and both my Pokemon are pretty low, but it ends up being a Crobat in the back, so we were going to lose that battle regardless. And yeah, basically nothing we can do here, since their Crobat is pretty healthy and they can just go straight Poison Fang, and even if we shield, the fast move pressure would be too much for us. So GG's to that opponent. Next match we have a Scrafty lead. We want to keep our NIDOQUEEN on this Scrafty at all costs because our back 2 Pokemon are pretty weak against it, especially the Obstagoon, which would take double super effective damage from the counters, and they can also go Power Up Punch, which boosts up their attacks. So I do bait here since I know the opponent most likely wants to maintain alignment, so they don't want our NIDOQUEEN against their Scrafty, so they're going to invest shields to win that matchup. And it ends up working out for us. We bring our Umbreon in here, and we're going to throw these, the foul plays at the NIDOQUEEN. So this next one should take out the NIDOQUEEN if they let it go. And they decide to let it go, so they bring the Scrafty back in, and we're going to go ahead and bring our NIDOQUEEN in here, obviously. So I'm just going to go straight Poison Fang here since we are up a shield. And if they like shield a Earth Power, it could be kind of bad for us. And it ends up being a Jellicent in the back. So we more or less hard countered our opponent the whole way through, except for in that middle matchup against the NIDOQUEEN and the Umbreon. The opponent, honestly, I think could have flipped switch if they decided to invest their final shield and Poison Jabbed us down, but they didn't, so that kind of worked out for us there, and GG's to that opponent. Next match, we have another Scrafty lead, and they bring in the Drifblim here. So Drifblim gets completely hard-walled by our Umbreon. As you're going to see here, this Icy Wind is going to do absolutely nothing to our Umbreon. So we're going to stay in here and get these foul plays off, and I'm going to try to leave with a little bit of extra energy, but also the longer we stay in here, the more debuffed we're going to get. So the Scrafty is going to get a pretty hefty farm down on us, since like these Icy Winds are doing nothing to us, so we're still going to have a lot of health. So if we decide to stay in, we're kind of in trouble. So we're going to have to likely switch out of this matchup anyways. And I decided to just throw my move here, since I know I'm going to have to leave this matchup regardless, since the foul plays would be, or I mean the last resorts rather, on the Scrafty being so debuffed would do just about no damage to it. So here I'm going to switch into my NIDOQUEEN, and they bring in their Jellicent. So I'm kind of regretting how I played that previous matchup. Like, I wish I just let my Umbreon get super low and attempted some sort of a farm down on the Drifblim. But honestly, staying in those matchups is kind of annoying. Like, I hate playing out long matchups, so I kind of got impatient and kind of just took out the Drifblim there. But as long as we're able to maintain some health on this NIDOQUEEN, we should be okay against the Scrafty, especially if we debuff it first and then bring our Obstagoon in. So they do bait us with the Bubble Beam, and hopefully this isn't a Shadow Ball. I haven't been keeping count now, but it ends up being a Shadow Ball, which is terrible for us. And they actually simul swap into their Scrafty, so kind of wishing that I stayed in there for a bit and like threw a Poison Fang at least before coming in with my Obstagoon. But like, you never really know in those situations like what's gonna happen. My best bet was switching into the Obstagoon to kind of clear the debuffs there on my NIDOQUEEN. But now we're going to be able to get a Poison Fang off. They actually shield this Poison Fang, which works out pretty good for us, since this next Poison Fang is going to do even more damage. So we end up winning that matchup still, even though we kind of misplayed the matchup with the Drifblim in the middle. But Umbreon just a hard wall to the Ghost type, so that ends up being a GG for us. So final match here, I believe. We have the Caesar into NIDOQUEEN. So this is another one of those matchups where it's pretty debate dependent, where you have to land the Earth Power to do anything meaningful to them. And they end up bringing in a Charm Sylveon. So this is a pretty bad situation. One of those situations where I do wish that I had the Gunk Shot, but I mean, you can't really run 3 moves, so you gotta pick your poison. I do think Cross Drop overall better since it does, you know, well against the poison dark types. So now we're going to bring our NIDOQUEEN here. I'm going to attempt to fully farm them down just to have a lot of energy exiting this matchup, but the Sylveon here is most likely going to get to 2 moves before I'm going to be able to farm them all the way down. And this is okay since the Psychic, even though, or Psyshock rather, even though it's super effective, doesn't take out the NIDOQUEEN. So we're going to end up seeing what's in the back, or not in the back. We're going to see the Caesar again. So I'm going to go ahead and bait since they have 2 shields. And we are ahead on energy, so I feel like they're going to be pretty inclined to shield. And they send the Night Slash over, and I'm going to bait again with the Poison Fang since I know if I go straight for the Earth Power, they're likely going to outpace us to the next move. And this is one of those really long matchups here that I was talking about, and why I do believe Last Resort is the better move compared to Psyshock. And I'm just going to skip ahead here since I don't think anybody really wants to watch this out. But more or less we just stay in here, and the Mandibuzz is able to be taken out by our Umbreon with this foul play here. And now it's just up to whether our NIDOQUEEN can take out the Caesar before they're able to get to a move. And we were like 1 fast move away from getting the Earth Power, but they would have won CMP anyways. So very close match there. Kind of came down to 1 fast move, and then I tried to quit out, but there was a bit of a glitch there, and I got stuck on that screen for quite some time. But yeah, that's all for today's video. NIDOQUEEN Double Dark. It performs like alright in this meta, but probably the only video I'm going to be making on the Halloween Cup, since a lot of people don't like it, and I also don't really like it. But that's all for today's video. Happy Halloween, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and also submit your battles in the link in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one.